Hey guys, it's Daisy here with a little bit of some pre-show or pre-episode notes. I wanted to give a little bit of a preface before we start today's episode on generational trauma, and give a little warning that we are going to be giving some spoilers, in fact, a lot of spoilers for the Disney movie Encanto. So if you have not watched the Disney movie Encanto, and you want to watch it and you don't like spoilers, go ahead and go watch that movie first and then come back to this episode and listen. If you don't care about the movie or you don't care about spoilers, then feel free to go on ahead and listen to this episode. But don't be saying that I didn't warn you guys, okay? Because we pretty much talk about the entire movie from every piece to it. But before we go on to the episode, I want to go ahead and explain a little bit about what generational trauma is, just because we didn't touch into the definitions or anything like that. We went straight into analyzing the movie. So according to goodtherapy.org, intergenerational trauma, or referred to as transgenerational trauma or multi-generational or just generational trauma, it's defined as trauma that gets passed down from those who directly experience an incident to subsequent generations. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in our experiences in the Latino community and how we experience generational trauma as a community as a whole, and then on an individual basis as well. And we're going to be analyzing the movie Encanto, and it's going to be a whole discussion. So please be warned that we are giving spoilers, and we are going to be talking a little bit about generational trauma. This is something definitely that we will be going into in future episodes, a little more deep diving into it. But this is a good way to not only analyze the Disney movie Encanto, but also get reflections from peers of not only our ages, from ages of 25 to 30, but also ages between 10 and 6. We're going to be having a couple different guests on this episode, so I hope you guys enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Day Chats. Today I'm here with one of my best friends, a lovely guest of ours, my friend Alex. And today we're going to be talking about the Disney movie Encanto. And not only are we just going to share our general thoughts, our general feelings, we're also going to be talking about the deeper message behind the movie and how that movie and what that movie made us feel. As you may already know about me, I am a first generation Latina. And so actually, Alex, are you first generation?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm like
third, right? Or second?
My great grandparents. Yeah. Third. Third.
Okay. So different perspectives, similar experiences, both a part of the Latino community. But we definitely just wanted to take a moment to talk about this episode because I did go on a little rant on Instagram. And of course, Alex had to respond. She's such a Disney fan. And I told her right away, as soon as she said she had so many thoughts and feelings about Encanto, I was like, we need to get this on a podcast because so do I. So let's begin, Alex. Let's go ahead and talk about what did that movie bring up for you? Like, just give us a general overview about what you thought about that movie, how you felt. Give us a little play-by-play.
Well, the movie itself, I love it because I love almost everything Disney. So it's just, I was kind of hesitant at first because I feel like a lot of people, like from what I heard, like my family who are not like my step family, they were very like, it doesn't have a point. Like, I don't understand what the big hype is about it. Like Coco had a point, like it was about a Mexican holiday. And then I was like, well, it's not Mexican, it's Colombian. So they're not gonna, I don't even know if Colombians celebrate Dia de los Muertos, but so I was kind of hesitant to watch it at first just because I took in all that criticism, but then I'm so glad that I did watch it because it's amazing for one. And I think it really encapsulates how much we love our family, like is how much we love our family and what we will like put up with and go through to every extent because we love our family. Like nothing will break that from our hearts. It's just I think it really does a good job at capturing that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that's something that I know I struggled with, and something that makes me mad, and something that we'll discuss in a little bit is how they portray, which the movie is amazing. They did, like you said, they did such a good job at showing the family bond and values that we have in the Latino community. Like our culture, the backbone of our culture is family. We are so united with that. And there's virtually nothing an adult, can do that will ever make it reasonable to break that bond. And I think that movie really just goes to show that no matter what an adult does, at the end of the day, the message is that we are family and that family comes first. And it could be such a beautiful thing. And for the most part, it is. But the whole point about why it made me feel a certain way, because it just really reminded me of all the negative and toxic things that comes along with that, and how much gets pushed under the rug just because we're family. And, blood is thicker than water, and we need to be there for one another. Right. So what are some things that you felt that, we talked about the things that you liked about that movie, but now let's talk about some things that made you feel like, whether it was angry or made you feel like, that was kind of messed up, or what are some things that made you feel or got a rise out of you out of that movie?
I think the moment when Mirabel stands up to her abuela, because that I feel is it's a huge scene, because it's scary to stand up to your older relatives when you know they're wrong, and you I've been in that position where I feel like I needed to be perfect for my mom and my grandma and my family, because I was the firstborn and I need to set the example, and I can't make any wrong moves, or like it's just gonna haunt me for the rest of my life. Especially feeling that at 15, because she's 15 in the movie, and I can't, like, at 15 I was like, I wanted to be 15, but I couldn't, because I needed to be the role model for all my younger siblings, to set an example for everyone, and I needed to be like top of the class, top of everything. But it is true, where I will never be perfect enough for anyone's standards except my own standards, because I'm me. I'm not somebody that I need to set an example for. I mean, yeah, it's great having somebody set an example for you, but that's not my only role in my life.
Right.
I wasn't born to set an example for my brother,
right,
or my younger siblings in general. Like, I was born to be me, and I feel like that part was the most. It resonated with me a lot, because I've always felt the need to be perfect, and I joke about it about me being perfect all the time, but we all know I'm really not that perfect. So it's that part really was the part for me that was like, wow, that's heavy.
Right.
To stand up to your older family members.
Right. And if anybody hasn't seen the full movie, we probably will be giving spoilers here. So maybe watch the movie if you want to listen to this episode, or just be okay with the spoilers. But just to recap, Luisa is the older sister, and her power is that she is really strong. She's the strongest one of the family.
She's middle, by the way.
Luisa? No, she's the oldest one. Isabella's the second eldest.
Isabella's 21 and Luisa's 19. That's from the director.
What?
Yeah.
Her song is literally about being one of, like, the eldest.
Yeah, but I think you have to read it. I think people maybe might be looking way too much into it, because she's not talking about, when she's singing that song, she's not singing to Isabella and Mirabel. She's singing to Mirabel only. So she is Mirabel's older sister. And Isabella, I feel Also, actually bringing that back, she does have to be perfect because she's the oldest. She has to set that example. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to that just kind of clicked in my head right now when I was talking about Mirabel. But yeah, from the director, Luisa is the middle child and Isabella is the oldest.
Wow. Okay, here we go. Little fact checking here. Okay, so Isabella is the
Sorry.
oldest. No, fact checked me. You are the Disney fanatic. I watch Disney movies, but you are, I mean, look at your shirt. Literally wearing a Disney shirt.
I know.
Okay, so Isabella, well, let's backtrack that. Isabella is the eldest then. She is the one that has to be perfect. They call her perfect Isabella. She's the one that can make the perfect flowers, make the most beautiful things. The whole point of her is that she's effortlessly perfect. And then we have Luisa, who is the strongest one of all. If anybody ever needs anything moved, they call her. She carries everything. Part of her songs is that she can move mountains, literally, quite literally, can move whatever. And then you have Maribel, who doesn't have a superpower. So she is the one who isn't lucky, who doesn't have anything, and is often outcasted from her family. And you could see it from the very beginning when they're having this ceremony for Antonia, which is one of her little cousins. The grandma, and this is the part that started making me mad, is that the grandma told Maribel when she's trying to decorate, she's trying to help, maybe you should leave the decorations for someone else. And Maribel is like, no, actually, I made this to surprise you. Like, she made these beautiful little pieces to put on the floor for them. And the grandma is so worried that Maribel will somehow, what is it called? Like give him bad juju, or there's like an actual word for it. What is it called? Jinx it. She's so worried that Maribel will jinx Antonio and not, affect him getting some kind of special power, that she tells Maribel to stay away, that she should stay in her room, or she should just be out of the way for that night. So that way she doesn't ruin it. I mean, she doesn't say don't ruin the night, but that's what she implies. And that to me automatically made me so infuriated. Because why are we pushing this message, which I believe the movie did such a good job to show those are things that actually happen in our family. You have the one black sheep in the family. And when you have an event that needs to go perfect, that family member is often asked, hey, maybe you shouldn't come. Or, hey, tone it down. Hey, dress normal. Hey, put those things away. Act normal. Yeah. Right? So,
like, don't say this to this person, or like, don't say this about yourself. Like,
exactly. Just don't be yourself, basically.
Yeah.
They ask you to be their version of who they want you to be. And if you can't fit that role, then they're never going to tell you that you're not welcomed, but they will always make you feel like you're not welcomed. So that decision is ultimately yours to make, to come or not to come. Because at the end of the day, that way they can't say like, oh, well, we told them to come, but they chose not to come. They made that decision to not be here for the family. And so that was one of the things that made me think, even from the very beginning, is like, in our culture, it's just so common that we have to change who we are. We have to never be okay with who we are. We have to question who we're becoming, because we're not becoming the roles and the people, the person that our family wants us to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think you learn it pretty early on too. Like, it's not like something that's just when you're older. It's like ingrained in you from the moment you do something weird in your life to when you're a little kid. Like all the way until, I don't know, I mean, like, God forbid, like, family members pass on, but sometimes, like, you have to hide that from the eldest, like, until forever, because they can't know that whatever it is that you might be, like, I don't know, that you're not this, like, perfect little human being. And I don't know, like, I feel like also it's always like a one-up, like, oh yeah, you're in college, but guess what? My kid already graduated college, and they're doing, like, okay, wonderful.
Right.
I'm so happy. But like, we never get that, like, we never get the praise of like, you know what, we're in college and we're doing this. It's always like, well, they already graduated college. Why aren't you graduating college yet?
Exactly. Or why are you stressed out? Why are you saying you're tired? Your only job is to be in school.
Yeah.
That was something that I got all the time in high school and even in college is, well, why are you saying you're tired? Like, you're literally, your only job is to be in school. And they don't factor in, and keep in mind, like, I know I come from a very privileged point of view because my parents did help me out a lot. But at the same time, money doesn't buy your mental health. And just because someone pays for something doesn't mean they don't do things along the way to give you obstacles. And sometimes a lot of those obstacles come not because they intentionally want to give you those obstacles, but it just comes as a form of that's what our culture is like. And that is what they were taught. And that is now what now they're passing on to us.
Yeah.
And so that is something that I know I got all the time in college and even now. So one of the songs, the song that Luisa sings, there's a part in there that she says something like, am I even good enough if I'm not of service? Like, am I even worthy if I'm not of service? And that one line, like, it literally made me bawl my eyes out because it's like, that's like, she's singing like how she just doesn't feel good enough if she's not like able to use her power to help others. And I know that's for me, like, I'm an only child, I'm not the eldest, but because I'm an only child, that same weight of having to be the perfect one to make sure that my little family doesn't look bad, being the only one that went straight to college. So keeping up that role of, you know, I went straight to college, I found a good job after, like that role of like, okay, well, what's next for her? Like, she's going on this track. Like, I cannot deviate from going down like that perfect path, you know? So while I don't have siblings, that pressure is still on me because now it's not me for my siblings. It's me as a reflection of who my whole family and the public sees of my family, because I am now the representation of my parents. And so when she's singing and she says that part, you know, that she just doesn't feel worthy if she's not of service, that's something that I resonated with her because I've always felt more recently now, especially because, you know, obviously I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to be an attorney, and that didn't happen for a variety of reasons. Like, I got rejected my first year, and that's what made me take a gap year to begin with. Like, who am I? What am I doing? And what is my value if I'm not doing what other people expect me to do? Right? And then who am I if my own family doesn't value the job that I have now? Just the other day, I told my mom, she made a comment that, oh yeah, you tip good because you make money easily. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, yeah, like, you make money easily. Like, you're just sitting all day. And it's not the first time that she makes a comment like that. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me just because I am not, you know, working at a fast food place or working physical labor, that my job isn't difficult, that my job isn't demanding. When we both deal with customer service, we both deal with like demanding duties and responsibilities. We were both leading a team. Yeah, maybe I'm sitting all day, but it's a mental toll and a mental exhaustion that you don't get from a physical labor job, which I have worked the same job that she has. So I could actually relate to it and say, like, it's two different things that you can't compare.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we come to this point, like, you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the job that they want you to have, because even though they came here, and Alex, I know for you, it may be a little bit different because you're not first generation. And I'd love to hear like your experience on that. But for me, it's always been like, make your parents' sacrifice worth it. You know, like, they came here and they had nothing to give me everything. So it's my job to make something of it. But when you are making something of it, they feel like it's not enough because you're not breaking your back like they did.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've heard lots of stories, and like obviously we're best friends. Like I understand, and I can reflect on how a lot of like first generation children are like have that kind of weight on their back. Obviously, I don't, because my parents were already here. It's more like just passed down. Like this is what the first girl or firstborn child does in this family, and you need to do that. Um, like a lot of it for me was, I think more than any, like what passed down was the emotional, how would you say, like emotional unavailability, like just
Mm-hmm.
emotionally unavailableness.
Right.
I'm making up words now, but that's what it is. Like I feel like from what my mom has told me about my great grandma, I knew my great grandma, but I was little when she passed away. She was not very, very like there. Like she was there physically, but emotionally no. And then my grandma, the same thing. Like she was very not like emotionally there for my mom when she was growing up. They very focused on themselves, and like I feel like maybe in a sense kind of selfish, but also not because they were making their own sacrifices. Because I mean, when my great grandma moved here, they didn't have a lot of money, and then obviously that passed down as well. You know, like poverty does kind of pass down. So my
Mm-hmm.
grandma, she didn't have a lot of money when she was raising my mom and my uncle. And then my mom was like, you know what, I want to break out of that one, but still very emotionally unavailable. So she did go to her do her thing, like with her bachelor's in nursing, while my grandma would watch us and stuff. Um, and then down to me, it's like they're still kind of not emotional. I mean, like I guess as I'm older, like I mean, like trying to break them out of it, but also like a big part for me is like I'm not passing that down to my daughter. Like my daughter will be able to see me feel emotions and like
Yeah.
and be a human. Like it was never like I saw my parental figures as humans. I see them as like, I don't know, like I want to say authority figures, but like authority robots, because like it was just authority. It was never
Yep.
like,
A
I feel like
human.
sometimes it was like love and caring, but it was more just, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Like constant. So I think that's what just passes down eventually. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's not so much like the sacrifice that they made, it's more the responsibility of being a, I want to say firstborn, because like my uncle and my brother, they don't, I feel like they don't have that
And not
that kind of thing, or like being a woman in a Latino
Yeah,
household,
that's what I
like
was gonna say. Like, not only are you a firstborn, but you're also a woman. So that's
yeah,
just like a double whammy right there. Like
yeah, like
your
yeah,
responsibilities and your expectations that your family will have in a Latino community. And for those of you who are Latinos or from ethnic families that have similar values, you'll know that your role as a woman is much different, and how they treat you is much different than your male counterparts.
yeah, definitely, 100%.
And
Because I
it's
mean,
sad.
my brother doesn't have that same kind of like, well, I mean, yeah, no, he doesn't. Like growing up, it was like, okay, well, he's a boy, so okay. But like for me, it was like, oh no, 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 like, absolutely not. You cannot go outside. Like
Yeah.
that's something.
Like, you have to be home at a certain time. You have to
Yeah,
you have to pick up the dishes. You have to learn how to cook, because God forbid your mom can't come home, because she's working. What is your dad going to eat? What are your brothers going to eat? Like, you have to
yeah,
be the woman of the household, regardless of what age you're at.
yeah, yeah. I always had more cleaning responsibilities, more, I don't know, just a higher expectation of me as a woman and a firstborn, because I needed to be that, like I said, that like role model that I never wanted to be, but
Mm-hmm.
I had to be anyway. But yeah, but I did like Luis's song a lot. I always tell my mom, I always joked about it. She was playing it one time. I was like, "Oh, you're playing my song." Like, I carry all that for you guys. But another song I really thought was heartbreaking was, I think if like we don't talk about Bruno, but then
Mm-hmm.
you go and actually see Bruno, and then you see how much he loves his family. Like they did him so bad. They don't talk
Yeah.
about Bruno, but he just loves his family so much. And I think that's like my thing was like, you know, we love our family so much. Like,
He said he's like, there's a lot of apologizing to do, but let me start first. And then he
he
said,
was like, I'm gonna apologize
yeah,
for everything that I did.
Yeah.
But it's like he didn't even do anything.
Exactly.
And then
he apologized
like,
for
apologize. We want to apologize to you, but he was like, no, like I'm here. Like this is all I've ever wanted from since I was in the walls of your house. Like I just wanted to be here with you guys because I love my family. And like, I don't know, that was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That whole different scenes. Mm-hmm.
I thought it was great though how at the end he went up to Abuela and he was like, you know, she didn't, like Maribel didn't do anything. I don't care if you are, you know, what you think, if you're still going to be stubborn. Like he was willing to finally stand up to his mom and like put her in her place almost to stand up for Maribel, because, you know, what I thought was interesting was that Grandma treated Maribel almost the same way, as she did Bruno. The minute that Bruno suddenly wasn't useful to her because people started interpreting his visions negatively, she outcasted him. And Bruno, like I said earlier, he made the decision to leave. Grandma wasn't ever going to be the one to kick him out. But Grandma made sure that everything aligned and people believed that his visions were bad. And so he had no other choice but to leave. And that's exactly what I was saying earlier, is that in our culture, they're never going to actually tell us, get out. I mean, some will, don't get me wrong. There are things that will get you kicked out. But for the most part, they're never going to actually explicitly tell you to get out, to leave the family. But they will always make you feel unwanted. So you are going to be the one who's going to walk away. And they'll do exactly that. We don't talk about this person because they chose to not be a part of this family. They chose to leave this family. We tried to help them. We tried to be there for them. But they chose not to be receptive. And that is the discourse that goes on throughout the families, right?
Yeah, and I see that, like, even with my own family, like, me for a little while when me and my mom weren't getting along, they really made me feel like unwanted. I mean, they eventually did kick me out, but like now when I bring it up, like, oh yeah, well you guys, like sometimes I'll just say something, but like they'll be like, well, you wanted to leave, and I'm like, okay, that's really not at all what happened, but okay, we'll just say that I wanted to leave. Yeah, like, let me just leave with my 2-year-old in the middle of the day one day. Like, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Like, it didn't make any sense, but it was what I wanted in the end. So it's like, so it makes it okay. But it wasn't what I wanted, and that's not how it went. And, but it's that same thing. Like, you know, they'll make you feel like this. Eventually, maybe they'll snap, but when you revisit that later on, it's, well, that's what you wanted. I didn't say that. And it's like, okay. You know, like, right. Alrighty. But yeah.
Right.
You're that totally was right.
And like one of the other things that, you know, this is something that I've seen a lot on TikTok. The reason why I started watching the movie is because I became on Encanto TikTok, where people were saying like all these white people are saying Encanto is about the LGBT community and speaking on behalf of the Latino community. So I had no idea what was going on. And, you know, so I was like, okay, let me watch it. And then I finally understood why they were upset. Like, obviously, this has nothing to do with the LGBT community. They absolutely need their own representation and, you know, include intersectionality there. But this specific movie is just not about that. But what I saw a lot in the comments are people then being mad about, you know, white people are saying that, you know, Abuela, her actions are not justified. And then I see creators, Hispanic and Latino creators, saying Abuela's actions are justified because you see the trauma that she endured when Abuelo passed away or when he was murdered. right? And
Yeah.
so she apologized at the end and she changed, and that's a lot more than what we can ask for. And that is where I feel, see, this is where I start to like analyze, like, is it me? Is it really me? Or am I like thinking things a little bit differently? Because the way I see it is I'm very big on like, fuck the grandma, to be honest. Like, I never liked abuela at all. I understand her pain. I understand her, why she would do the things that she did, to protect the family and to keep the miracles alive. But at the same time, the way she treated Maribel for not having a gift when she herself doesn't even have a gift. So if she didn't even want, for example, she didn't want Maribel at Antonio's ceremony because she might jinx it. The grandma herself doesn't have any gift. She holds, the house itself.
The candle.
The candle, but she doesn't have like an actual gift. So the issue that I have with that is that we're starting to fall into the same cycles that are very common in our community. And this is where I struggle. And this is where I would love your feedback, Alex. And also for those of you who are listening, let me know where you stand on this and how you feel, because this is where I struggle. A part of me feels that her trauma and what she endured is not a justification as how she treated her grandchildren and how she treated Maribel. I don't believe that because she saw Abuelo, murdered, I don't believe that that is a justification as how badly she treated Maribel and how unfair she was with her and how she outcasted her, how she outcasted Bruno, and how she always treated her grandchildren that they were never going to be good enough no matter what, which I get it. It's the point of the movie. Like, I'm not criticizing the movie itself, but I'm trying to take that, like the actions of the movie and putting them to a real world scenario, because these things do happen in our culture. And I feel when I hear, people our age in our community saying that abuela had a reason, it's all okay at the end because then you understand where she's coming from. Just because you can understand why a person is the way they are does not make their actions okay. And I feel like a lot of people want to forgive abuela because they finally understood why she is the way she was. And that's where I disagree. And I don't think in real life, I don't think I would have forgiven her that easily if that was me, because there's no reason that something like that would have to affect Maribel in that way simply for not having a power, right? Or why she made her feel so insignificant, why she made her feel that Maribel was the one that needed to change, and why she constantly blamed Maribel for the house breaking apart and being the reason why there was cracks in the house,
Yeah.
And so for me, I don't feel like her trauma, I think it's absolutely a reason to understand why she is the way she is, but not to excuse her actions. And I feel like a lot of the discourse on TikTok that I have seen recently is using her backstory as an excuse for her actions. And that's where I disagree.
Yeah. I don't like, I'm always on the fence. Like, that one's really difficult for me too, because if we put it into as, no, because even still, like, your parents made a sacrifice, but you've said, like, I don't think it should excuse the way that they've ever, like, put so much pressure on me in certain senses. And I feel like that's the same, like, maybe I might feel the same as you, like it is so common, and I do understand it. Like, I understand that my mom is a lot of the way she is because she was a single mom, like with me and my little brother, like, and like had to go to nursing school and like do all these crazy things, like so young. And that was her sacrifice, but it doesn't like mean that she should have treated us any certain way. So, I guess maybe I feel the same as you, that like, I understand her and I feel for the abuela because, like, that's really sad. Like,
yeah,
it's
that's
really
traumatizing.
Yeah, and that's a real thing people go through daily,
Right.
But it's true, like, it's not something that should have been or that should justify her treatment towards the rest of her family. Because there's a scene even in the movie where I don't remember during which song it is, but there's a scene where you see Abuela like walking by each of the rooms, and all the little kids, her kids, and then the grandkids, like as soon as she passes by, like they sit like all up and straight, and like to make sure that they look presentable, and like, you know, they have to be on their most perfect behavior. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess like I feel that especially for Isabela, because I think I'm pretty certain she's the oldest grandchild. So like her having to be perfect and marry this perfect man for her, and like, and be 100% of the time, like that's very stressful. And I think it reflects a lot on her as well, because in her song where she's what else can I do, like she just lets loose, like she's like finding herself and she's loving herself. And but then Abuela comes and she's like, Mirabel, what did you do to her? Like that, it's just not. I don't like, I think it's the same as you. Like, I get it, but it shouldn't happen.
Exactly.
And like, that's for everyone's like struggle, like sacrifice. Right. But you shouldn't be treating me that way because of what you've been through.
Exactly. And let me add another layer on top of that.
Daisy wants to add another layer to Alex's comment. What will she say? Find out next time on Encanto with Daisy and Alex. And remember to embrace the day.